It's time for Solutions for Seniors to Be, here on WATD. Here to help make your golden years golden, offering guidance on programs and services available to you and your loved ones in your retirement. Now, here's your host, Chris Shea.
I've been in the right place.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to 2024, first Sunday of the year. Hopefully everyone's having a fantastic start to the year and are starting on their New Year's resolutions and haven't quit on them yet. Although, if you have, you're not in the worst company ever, because there's studies about that, and there's National Quitting Day coming up and all that sort of stuff. But for those of you that are looking to be better at things in your life and learn about things, I have a guest today who's a senior real estate specialist. Her name is Sandra Smith. She's out of Plymouth, and we're going to talk about one of those things that, well, if you go anywhere for anything, people can't help but talk about. That would be real estate. So, Sandra, introduce yourself to the world of WATD and online.
Hello, good morning, and Happy New Year. So as he said, Sandra Smith, I am with RE/MAX Real Estate Center. Our office out of Plymouth is where I'm from, and been doing real estate for 20 plus years now.
What made you get into real estate?
Great question.
I try and ask the great questions. The simple ones, but they're usually the best, right? Like,
absolutely.
Why do you do what you do is an important question, because you got to get up and you spend most of your time doing work, so...
So true, so true. So I grew up in it. My father always had his own real estate firm, was a broker. Not here in Massachusetts, but I grew up in the Midwest. And then he also had moved to Florida. I lived there as well. And he did it his whole life. So I always liked it, admired it, kind of helped him in the office a little bit. That was not my background, but when we moved here from Florida 21 years ago, I was like, I think I'm ready to do real estate, because the youngest was in first grade, and I was like, let me follow this passion that I've admired.
That's interesting, because my mom was in real estate here in the South Shore for 35 years.
Wow.
And
so you kind of know.
I didn't want to do it at all.
Well, it's not for the faint. It's not as easy as people think.
Right, and not because it's not simple, not because it's complicated, not because it's not as easy, not for any of those reasons. Literally because I didn't have a passion for it.
Yeah.
Like, when I look at a building that someone's going to live in, I see four walls, and I'm like, great, yeah, whatever, you're going to enjoy it. But the personal stuff around it, I just don't get excited about that.
You don't like looking at houses? You don't see the vision that other people see?
I can see the vision, but I just, it doesn't get me excited.
Hey, well, everybody has to follow their own
Yeah,
passion.
and I'm glad that you have the passion, because I do know that it is, from watching my mother do it for years, I appreciate what realtors do, because they do a lot of stuff, and I'll say that in the PG-13 realm, that people have no idea what they actually do and the behind the scenes, and it's really a challenge for most realtors to actually do what they do. A lot more work than people give them credit for. So you have a designation of a senior real estate specialist. What, for those that are uneducated in terms of what that means, because it's a relatively new designation, right?
No, actually, it's been around like a long time.
A long time?
So, yeah, the seniors real estate designation I've had since actually 2005.
What made you get it? So first off, what is it, and why did you choose to do that?
Sure. So seniors real estate specialist is a designation given that you've worked so many hours with people over 55 plus. You're aware of what services, and there's always like a team underneath me of people that I know that people might be downsizing or right-sizing, as they call it now, or moving to assisted living, or something that makes more sense for them at that stage in their life. So it's just like any education that most professions have. It's, some credits and education that you need to take to have it, and then, renew it and stay active with it. So I'd always kind of been interested in working kind of with seniors, and I have done that in my past as well, too. And I was kind of helping out a home care company that had just started, just, part-time, like 10 hours a week when I decided to get it. And it's just really helped my business. And I'm very involved, as I know you are, with the senior community and helping seniors. We're both part of the senior networking, Plymouth networking group that helps raise funds for seniors of Plymouth County that are in need. And we partner with old CES and COAs around the Plymouth County. So
OCES, for those of you that don't know, stands for
Old Colony Elder Services.
That's right. They're a wonderful resource to help people out, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's one of the things you talked about when you first mentioned the senior real estate specialist is you have a team of resources of people around you.
Correct.
Which can help. What are some of those resources that you use on a fairly regular basis when you're consulting with someone who's looking to leave their home that they've probably been in for 20 or 30 years?
Or 40 or 50.
I was going to say or more.
Yeah.
And again, so I talk a lot about my mom on this, and she passed away almost 3 years ago now. She had lived in her home since 1989, so she had 30 plus years, and she had no desire to leave. And we tried to get her to talk about it, and she just didn't because of the memories that were there and all that sort of stuff. And I couldn't convince her to get out, which I think would have been beneficial for a lot of reasons, but we won't talk about that. What do you do to help people get past that? This is my home.
I don't want to leave.
I'll never want to leave, and I don't want to think about this.
Yeah, so there's a lot in that question there. But most people, like you say, we accumulate stuff. So the house is full of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
A lot of it is memories, but a lot of it's just stuff that we might not have used or seen for months to years. And it's very overwhelming for people to think about, I'm going to have to move, and what am I going to do with all this stuff, and where is it going to go, and I can't pack it. It is. It's overwhelming even for me.
Yeah.
So I know and work with a lot of different move managers that help come in and help them and guide them with that, whether it's packing up the stuff and you're going through it. One of the first things I tell everybody that's thinking of selling, and maybe you don't want to sell for a year or 2 years, and it doesn't matter your age, start going through your stuff now and either donate it, trash it, sell it, or pack it up and get it out of there, because less is always more. So, and if you start the process early, you're going to be so happier when it comes time to list, and half of that is already done for you. So move managers can help with that, like organize it, donate it, trash it, sell it, pack it, and help you keep the ones, that are most near and dear to your heart. Or, you bring the kids in and help them take what they want. But as you know, we both have dealt with that with our parents. We don't want their stuff.
Yeah.
So, but, some things are heirlooms and they want to keep them in the family. So we do that. But move managers, a lot I work with. Sometimes there's ones that can help them move and transition into the new place that they're going and help them unpack and get set up. I had somebody recently, last summer, we sold his house in Scituate. He moved down to Wareham, and we had to have somebody come in there and help clean up and organize and get it ready. And then they did the same thing when we sold his house, and he had to move, and she went and set him up in his new place. And it was just a task he couldn't take on himself. It was just too overwhelming. So, we know the right people, and I know a couple different companies that do that. And, clean out people. People need clean outs.
Yeah.
Dumpsters always come in handy.
Yeah, I've said this before. I'll say it again on the air. My mom had 6 30-yard dumpsters.
Whoa. Yeah.
Of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
But a good portion of it was just literally the attic. Right,
yeah,
which
put it up and forget it.
You put it up, you forget about it, and unfortunately, there were critters that crawled along up there and left remains, and
or camping out, renting in the place.
They have to, they go as well.
Yes.
And once the they poop and pee on stuff,
Yeah.
and it sits there for years. Like the entire attic just literally went out, down the stairs right to the dumpster, and that was
Yeah.
probably 2 dumpsters of stuff. That was just like, yeah, like some of this would have been great, but it was just too disgusting to keep.
Yeah. And I've seen that often in many homes that people have been in for years.
Yeah, and the thought of, I'm going to have this, I'm going to give it to my kids, they're going to love it, may or may not be true all the time.
True.
Because if you think about it, and right, a lot of people listening probably right now are the sandwich generation, right? They've
Absolutely.
got their parents that are in their 60s and 70s. They've got their own kids. They've got their own house. They don't need or want mom and dad's house, right? The days of,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this house to my kids,
Yeah.
pretty much passé.
Exactly. It's a different generation now, and they want their own, and housing styles are different. So, yeah, you're right on the money with that.
Oh, I try. Every once in a while, I get things right. But it's always one of those things where it's just, I think the word that you said most frequently that is the most impactful is overwhelming,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, extremely overwhelming. So, as you've seen with your mom over the years, and our job's not always easy, sometimes we're just a listening ear. And sometimes, I meet with families or somebody who's thinking of selling or right-sizing, and it takes months of just, talking and listening and putting a plan in place, because I don't like to rush anyone, because nobody likes to be rushed. But even more so, it's such a big transaction and big chapter in your life. I like to say I help people with their chapters, whether it's their first chapter with their first house they're buying, or they're closing a chapter and moving to the next one. It takes time. So working with them and taking the time and listening and putting the plan in place, I always say they're in the driver's seat. I'm just here to kind of guide them in that driver's seat and help with resources if need be.
Yeah. All right. And speaking of chapters, let's close this chapter on the first part of the show and listen to an ad, and then we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Are you fit to retire? I'm Chris Shea, financial advisor with BPS Financial Services in Marshfield. I work with clients to create a 100-day plan that can help get you started so that you can get the most out of your retirement. You've worked your whole life towards your goal of retirement. Let BPS Financial Services put together a plan that will help you enjoy your retirement. Find out how a 100-day plan tailored to you can help you get started in your retirement at fit2retire.com/Chris-Shea or call 781-733-5996. That's 781-733-5996. And now for my fast red disclosure, as this has been compliance approved.
Chris Shea is a registered representative offering securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC, member FINRA/SIPC, a broker-dealer and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Located at 752 Ocean Street, Marshfield, Massachusetts, 02050.
That's 781-733-5996. Welcome back. That was me talking about me and what I do for my financial services stuff. But today, like I said, talking to Sandra Smith, RE/MAX out of Plymouth. And she's a senior real estate specialist. So one of the things that I did want to talk about, because it is a designation that I'm seeing more and more of, how did getting that change your perspective on being a realtor, or did it not change anything at all for you, right? Because I know with some of the education I've gone through, like as soon as I get it done, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that before.
Yeah, so another good question. How did it change?
I'm almost as good as Walter Cronkite.
A lot of agents get designations like, certified buyer, listing luxury specialist, pricing strategy, advisor, which I do have that one. But as far as the
Pricing
seniors,
strategy advisor?
yeah, so
Really?
about how to price things appropriately. So a lot of people love all the designations behind their name, and everybody's always like, I have no idea what that means, right?
Welcome to my world.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, I'm big on education and always bettering myself and how can I help people. So just having worked with seniors in the past or in home care, I just felt like it was important. Like the more resources that I had available that I'd be able to help people, if they came to me, I could point them in the right direction and get them in the right places and the people that they need to know, while still having a passion. Two passions of mine, working with seniors and selling houses. So
where did the passion for working with seniors come about?
I don't know. I think I've just always had that. I don't know. From the time I was a little girl in Iowa, I always helped the elderly lady behind us with doing things around the house for her, and I just really enjoyed it. So I don't know.
That's an okay answer, right? Like you don't have to realize exactly when it was. I mean,
I feel like we can always learn something from them too. Like the stories they tell are amazing.
Absolutely. Like I remember when we talk about our families and things like that. I can remember my mom's side of the family. My grandparents. There was just me and my brother with the grandkids, so we were doted on a little bit.
I'm gonna say you were.
But they were from New York. They moved to New Bedford, had the family there, grew up there. My parents raised me in Hanover, though. But I would go down to New Bedford and North Dartmouth, where their house was, all the time. And they were old New York Jews, and they just moved down. And next thing you know, they're playing cards, poker. The four couples would get together and play poker. And I'd be 6, 7, 8 years old and learning how to play poker at the elbow of my grandparents. And better than that, they didn't want to get up and make drinks.
Oh,
so I would get up and go over to the bar area. I didn't even know where it was.
Yeah, right.
Right, because I'm 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, grab the ice, put like 4 ice cubes in there. Grab that bottle. No, not that bottle. Yes, that one. Pour, stop. Okay, now open up the soda water and pour that in. I was making gin and tonics and vodka tonics.
Without even knowing.
Without even knowing it. Putting in limes and things. But I learned a lot about life from hanging out with my grandparents.
Yeah, so true. They have so many life stories that are different from our life now.
And just listening to them, the way they talked was different than how I talked with my friends. And like some of the perspectives they have on life was like, yeah, it's going to be all okay in the end.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to go, you're going to enjoy. There's going to be good things, there's going to be bad things. But as long as you keep a good attitude, you're probably going to be okay, kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I always try and
Good
learn
experience there.
what people brought them into working with seniors, because usually there's something that triggered it. Their family was involved in it, or in your case, you just had a neighbor that you enjoyed the heck out of going over and listening to the stories of.
Yeah, I did.
I feel that's fantastic. So as a realtor, one of the things that I know that my mother ran into was whenever someone talked to her, they were like, oh, God, you want to sell my house? Or you want to sell my house? With what you do, how often do you actually tell people, don't bother selling?
Well, so I always do my homework. If somebody says, I'm thinking of selling, can you come take a look at the house for me? Absolutely. So I go, but I don't have a number when I go because I've never been in the house, right? People look online, and I always say, don't trust Zillow.
How much is my house worth?
They've never been in your house, the people online. So you get in there and you look at it, and then I go do my homework and pull comparable comps that, you really can't go back more than 6 months. And I'm looking at what a bank is going to look at if somebody's going to get it appraised. Unless they're paying cash, cash is always king. But I'm looking at it realistically. And there's probably 5 times last year that I met with people, and I just said, it doesn't make sense for you to sell right now, right? You know what I mean? I don't need to tell them, hey, you need to sell because I want to get the listing. if it doesn't make sense for them, I'm going to be 100% honest with them. Like, whatever makes the most sense for them and is best for their situation. But if it makes sense, it's like, you could sell and this is what you could get for it. But then where are we going next? Like, do we have a plan in place? Like, let's look at that and that happens often. I'm working with a couple of people now. They're getting their house ready because they want to downsize and they want to go somewhere else. So we're kind of getting our feet wet and kind of looking to see what's available. But again, at the same time, in this market,
I was going to say,
you need to kind of get yours on the market because it's getting still competitive again. And it was even last year, people with the interest rate so high, like, oh my gosh, it's a crazy market. It was still competitive. I had a lot of buyers that still lost out several homes before they got one because the inventory was so low. So is it still a seller's market?
Wasn't
Absolutely.
is, I think, is the appropriate phrase, right?
Right. So seller's market, they can sell their house, no problem. But then where are they going? Are they going to live with their children? Are they going to an assisted living? Do they have a place to go to? Do they want to rent? You see a lot more apartments coming all over the South Shore. Some people are just choosing to do that too, which I can always help them with that as well too.
Yeah,
so.
I think the where are you going next question is the one that is probably scarier for most people.
Yes, very true, because if they want to buy, there's not as much inventory either. And so trying to balance those two, can I sell in order to buy? Can we do them both on the same day? Yes. Is the answer. Is it always that easy? No. If you could sell first and then have time to look, that's ideal, but not everybody has that available to them, or somebody to stay with short term, or find a short term rental,
or buy first and
right,
sell
exactly.
second.
Yeah, if you can do that, you're golden, but not everybody is in that opportunity to do that position.
That's financially challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's where you come into play. You can help them balance their finances there.
Yeah, try and figure something out, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always the old saying, there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
Right? If you have the desire to get something done and you really want to do it, as long as you get the resources, we can map out a plan.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's essentially all it is. It's, figuring out. Again, we're here on a Sunday, and the Patriots are playing this afternoon, and maybe
last game of the year.
maybe Bill Belichick's last game as well. But it's one of those things where the plan is in place, and if you just block, tackle, get what you want done, map it all out, you can pretty effectively get what you want most of the time.
Very true. Very true.
But
planning is key.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of so okay, you talked about getting people into they used to be called facilities. Now they're called
assisted living
residencies.
Yeah, independent living. Yeah.
What do you do in terms of helping people get into those types of scenarios? Because that's part of the plan of what the heck do I do next?
Exactly. So I'm pretty familiar with most of them all on the South Shore, being involved in this networking group that helps and focuses with seniors. And I know a lot of the players of there. But if they need to go and preview them themselves and they don't have family here to help them do that, again, I have people on my team that I can refer them to that know them inside and out and can take them and preview them and help them find the right one, right? Like, that's their specialty. My specialty is, selling the house and working with them. But, and in the past, I had somebody, she didn't have any family around. She could not drive. She didn't want to trust anybody else. So I knew she had 4 identified. I knew the people there. I drove her there. We looked at them and toured them with her, and she made the decision on where she wanted to go. But extreme case there, which is fine, and I'm happy to do that. But some people, I know the other companies that do that and do place them and can help them find the right next home for them that fits for them. Sometimes they're just going to an in-law or an accessory dwelling unit to live with, at their children's, their adult children. So there's different options.
Yeah, and I think that's important for people to hear, that there's more to a senior moving out of their home than just plunking out the for sale sign.
Exactly. There's so much behind that. Some, try to get on the list for senior housing, but on the South Shore, those can be anywhere from 4 to 8 years long to get on that list. So if it's something that you're thinking and that's what's in your budget, you need to get on that list now, and you need to talk to your town.
Or 4 years ago.
Yes, exactly. So if you're thinking it down the line, get on that list now. There's not that many affordable housing available for seniors. I know Plymouth down in Red Brook is trying to build one too. And there's other places on the South Shore as well too. It's just not that easy to come by. It's affordable housing here is based on.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
No, and that's one of the things that I think is a scary part for people as well, of sticker shock.
Yeah.
Of where am I going to go and how much does that cost a month?
Yeah. I help some people that, with disabilities get into the affordable rental, like in Kingston. And I mean, even that price, wowed me. That's not affordable.
Yeah.
But, they base it on what's happening in our market.
Yeah. And that's, again, a pro and a con of rising real estate prices is as real estate prices go up, everything kind of
so do rents.
Goes up with it.
Yes.
Right? So, just because you're going to sell your house and make a windfall on it doesn't mean you're going to necessarily keep that windfall 100% for you. You've got to, again, plan for what your next step is going to be, and hopefully talk to somebody who cares enough about you to have that conversation, who's not necessarily a loved one too, right?
Right.
Because I couldn't talk to my mom about it.
Yeah.
She didn't want to listen to me. Why? She still saw me as the 8-year-old kid that would play basketball and run around with braces and stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't a 40-something-year-old adult. I was still a child.
It's true. Sometimes an outside source they tend to listen to a little bit differently. Right?
Yeah, and particularly one that asks good questions.
Yeah, that's true.
And listens, right? I mean, sometimes people just want to talk.
I mean, I have adult children. They don't listen to me. They'll take advice from somebody else before they will their mother. You know what I mean? Moms don't know everything until they get to a certain age. And they're like, hey, maybe my mom did know things. Yeah.
I watched the Marvel movies, and was watching one of them over the holidays, and Endgame, and the Hulk's there talking to some kids, and he's like, listen to your mom. She knows better. Doesn't know best, but moms knows better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good way to look at it. But we're getting up towards the end of our half hour here. If someone was intrigued enough to think about their future this year of maybe moving, how would one get in touch with Sandra Smith?
So, Sandra Smith with RE/MAX, and you can reach out via phone call, which is 508-415-0509. That's 508-415-0509. Or I have an email at SSMITH, so S. Smith, Realtor, REALTOR, 1 as in the number 1, at gmail.com. So that's smithrealtor1 at gmail.com.
And I'm sure if they go online and Google
you can
Sandra Smith Plymouth, you're probably going to pop up pretty quickly on social media.
Yeah, it's on Google My Business. Yep, all that information's on there. Social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Cool. All right, well, this has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure as well.
Thanks for being here, and I look forward to talking with you at least once a month as we go forward with our networking group, and hopefully this was great for everyone. Enjoy your Sunday.
Thank you.
But it must have been the wrong time. I'd have said the right thing, but it must have used the wrong line. I've been on the right trail, but I must have used the wrong car. Headed in a bad place, and I wonder what's good for. I've been in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. My head is in a bad place, but I'm having such a good time. I've been running, trying to get hung up in my mind.